All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is Darren Smith. Steve Walls will be joining me in just a few moments. We are live here inside of the Caesars Superdome down here in New Orleans, Louisiana. The Kansas City Chiefs get ready to take on the New Orleans Saints to open up their preseason and, of course, their 2023-24 NFL season. Obviously, the big news of the day is that Patrick Mahomes will get 1 quarter worth of action. But if we know anything about Andy Reid, along with his coaching style, if the team, if the offense can go down and score on the first drive, that'll be the most we'll see of Patrick probably in this preseason. Obviously, set the atmosphere here. A lot of empty seats, but of course, it is preseason. Looking forward to see a lot of new players, see what they're able to do here. Some of the players of interest that I know a lot of people are looking forward to seeing what the offensive line featuring Donovan Smith, along with Jawan Taylor on the outside bookends. See how they perform with the starters in the first series. Of course, we get to see some Isaiah. Actually, we won't see Isaiah Pacheco, but we will get a chance to see Deneric Prince today, along with Sky Moore. See how he steps up now in the starting role for Kansas City and this Chiefs offense. A lot of other new faces the Kansas City Chiefs fans are looking forward to seeing. Rashee Rice, wide receiver, along with Richie James, the new acquisition that they got from the New York Football Giants. On the defensive side of football, of course, we can't wait to see what Felix, Chiefs first-round draft pick, Chiefs Asuma. And so, we'll get a chance to talk more about that along the way. And, my guy, never had any doubt he was going to be here. My guy, Mr. Steve Walls. Steve, first of all, how was the flight?
It's fun. I'm good.
I know. And so I was just telling our audience, Steve, that, what to look forward to as it relates to new faces. I was telling them, we just came on a few moments ago. Obviously, Deneric Prince, the rookie running back that a lot of Chiefs fans are looking forward to, but also offensively, wide receivers, Rashee Rice, Richie James, and of course, he was on the team last year on the practice squad, but we'll get a chance to see Justin Ross in action today as well. Your thoughts?
I'm actually wanting to see the second teamers, man, because you get a lot of those guys. Of course, you got some new faces, but you get guys like Clyde Edwards-Helaire that I think both the Chiefs and Clyde are kind of in a good position because Clyde is looking for a new deal. And he's going to get an option to be able to showcase himself.
Yeah, because the Chiefs didn't pick up his fifth-year option last year.
Yeah. And so the Chiefs are going to get every bit of Clyde that they can get because he's trying to get that new deal. So with that being said, I think I really want to see Clyde and what he's able to do. Of course, Deneric Prince, but then Justin Ross. There's been a lot of hype around him.
A lot of hype.
And so when you think about Justin. And being able to see and of course I know it's going to be Blaine Gabbert, right? Like not Patrick Mahomes. Look, a lot different. But I think you're going to be able to see at least something that he's able to bring to the table.
One of the things that I mentioned earlier when I did a little live thing is that if someone asked me, how early will we see Justin Ross? One of the things that we learned from injury last year, even in Chicago, he'll put, like the running backs and the rookies, he'll interchange them. It won't necessarily go by just first string offense, and you go. I mean, we saw Isaiah Pacheco mixing in with the first stringers with Patrick in the first quarter in the Chicago game last year. So I can see a scenario where Justin Ross and some of these other players get some time in with Patrick. If they go down to score in the opening drive, I don't see Patrick coming back in.
If they go down and do what they're supposed to do, he's going to get one series, maybe two, if the first series doesn't go as planned. But if they go down, even if they go down and get a field goal, I think Andy and company, they're going to be okay with that.
Yeah. Now, defensively, of course, they got a lot of new faces, but kind of like you, looking forward to see how the second-year players, those that, obviously started and played a lot last year under Spags, how they come back and do the second time around. But also, a lot of people looking at Felix Azuma, the Chiefs first-round draft pick, seeing what he's going to be able to do. Is there anybody that you're looking at on the defensive side of football that piques your interest in this first game?
Yeah, talking to a couple players this week, like the second-year guys that are coming in and basically expecting to perform, right? Like last year, Spags had the anything extra that we get from these rookies is going to be okay. now they're coming in expected to play. And I think Felix, being the Chiefs' first pick in this year's draft, he's coming in with a lot of expectations. It's like, all right, you don't have Frank Clark anymore, possibly no Chris Jones, and he's like the new wave. He's expected to be able to do some things that they want him to do.
When you look at it, obviously Chris Jones is not here. He's not on the team. I know you mentioned I think Friday before your show, you talked about his cryptic tweet with Michael Bay and stuff. But in his absence, I always feel like that's an opportunity for other players to step up because people are trying to make the team. And so in Chris Jones' absence, that should be able to open up the door for somebody. Who do you think that might be?
Man, I mean, the thing about it is when you look at Chris Jones, I would have thought that they would have kept a guy who's on the Saints right now, Colin Saunders.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're not going to look to bring him back or sign him, but they didn't expect Chris Jones, like Andy said earlier in training camp. He didn't expect Chris to hold out. Of course, they thought it was going to be the same old Chris as what he did coming off of his rookie deal, where he showed up anyway. And so I feel like they let go a guy that they would have been able to get for cheap. So now you have a guy like Derek Nottie who has to step up. Which Derek, when we talked to him during our Red Hour show last year, he had a lot of expectations for himself and a lot of self goals. And I think he made use of those, or he obtained a lot of those goals last year, even making it to the Super Bowl. And so he's coming in with a lot of confidence. And you said it best. And I know a lot of those guys feel the same way. It's like, all right, next man up. The Chiefs always, even Eric Bieniemy had talked about that a lot, like next man up mentality. And they've instilled that in a lot of these guys. And these new guys are coming in with that. Derek Nottie's been around, so he already understands it. So I feel like I can't remember who player said it, but it's like the train's going to keep moving.
Steve Walls, Darren Smith, we're live in New Orleans at the Caesars Superdome, bringing you the pregame Chiefs Chief. Year number 5 for us, Steve. Of course, this season, of course, we'll be back with the Red Hour as well down at the Soiree Steak and Oyster House. So we look forward to seeing you all and joining us throughout the season from here, starting in New Orleans, in and all the way in Las Vegas at Super Bowl 58. Steve, if you're Andy Reid, and then this is a question that I'm going to probably ask the post game, but if you're Andy Reid, you know what you're going to get from your offense, and to an extent, maybe your second team, but what are you looking for, as the game progresses, third, fourth stringers who are trying to make the team, but you only going to keep so many, but what are you looking for as the head coach of the Andy Reid later on in the game, even though it is the first game?
It's crazy because I asked Andy about that on Thursday. And you get a lot of these young guys. They know that they're probably not going to make this team, right? If you're the fifth, sixth string guy on the depth chart, you're probably not going to make this team. And so Andy's like, hey, I want these guys to go out there and play because there's 31 other teams, that you were able to possibly get good film for. And then you'll have that league, you'll have that league behind your name. Like, hey, I played in 3 games. You get 3 preseason games. So I played in those games. And then the cut day is all one cut day down at the end. So you don't have to worry about any of that. You're going to be able to play in every game. So now it's what you make of it.
And one of the things that, because it's down to 3 games, used to be when it was 4, if the players would increase, the starters, Pat and all them would increase the amount of time that they were playing the game leading up to the preseason. But now it seems like we'll probably get, 1 or 2 series out of Patrick in the first team today. Maybe a first quarter out of them next. Next.
They've got to get first. They're going to get 1 quarter next week.
But I think about what happened last time in Arizona. The injuries and the surf and stuff like that. Yeah. I don't know how much you really play them now. Last game, the first home game preseason, I can see a scenario where Patrick plays only because that's the only preseason home game before the regular season that Chiefs fans will get a chance to see him. So, how do you think that this time frame works out for the players and what they'll be able to get?
I think they're gonna still do what they do, right? Like I think Patrick, he already said he wants to get that one hit to knock the rust off. A guy like Travis, I don't think he's playing much. I mean, you know what you got there, but Patrick, he wants to get that timing down with a guy like we talked about, Justin Ross. I think Sky Moore is going to come into his own. So you want to have Patrick to play at least 2 quarters going into Kansas City's game in Kansas City. So I don't know how much they play next week. I think you're going to have him play at least 2 quarters. I just feel that way. A quarter. You don't want to showcase everything. That's just Andy.
Yeah.
It's just going to be very vanilla, right? Like, you're not going to be able to show everything. And I mean, hand the ball off. You don't want him out there throwing. Just work on your running game. At least because this team has had a lot of trouble in the red zone the past few years. So you want to get something to where you're working on some things that you need to get better. And I think the red zone is going to be key.
One of the things that I like to see them work on, which it won't happen much unless they play extended time, is the relationship between Patrick and MBS. Because we saw last year where throughout the season, it wasn't really until like the AFC Championship game, and maybe a little bit early on than that. But be careful.
Oh, you all right, my man?
Yeah. Yeah.
You all right?
All right. Well, you never know what's going to happen here on the show.
Right.
Hope he's okay. But Steve, when we look at everything, on the defense side of football, I wanted to ask. When I talked to Spags last week, what he's going to be looking for is the tackling part. But what I was saying about MVS is that, we saw last year that Patrick Mahomes was missing him a lot. Now, I like to think that they've kind of built that rapport back up or whatever, but I would still like to see that kind of get cemented during the preseason. But on the defense side of football, talking to Spags said that what he wants to take out of this game is tackling, making sure that they get that down pat, because he said if they don't tackle well in this particular game, they got to go back to the basics in training camp this week. Your thoughts on the defense side?
Yeah, I mean, and that red zone for them too, because that was one of the worst things. Tackling, they got better as the season went on, right? Like, that was coming in from, I think, Spags' first year into last year, right? Like, they wanted to work on tackling. I think they did a little bit better with that. But red zone, they were worse. One of the last teams in red zone. So you got to be able to stop the defense has to be able to stop the opposing offense in the red zone. I feel like these cornerbacks going into year 2, you got a lot out of them last year. And I don't want to say it was kind of, luck of the draw, right? But I think you got a lot out of them, and you want them to be able to understand, all right, I'm going to add more to your plate this year. And there shouldn't be any hiccups. Like last year, it's kind of like, all right, you made a mistake. Cool, you're a first-year guy. We'll work on that. Now they're going to be expected to come out here and ball. So, I mean, you get guys like Watson and Cook. They can't make any mistakes. They have to play mistake-free football, and I feel like that's one of the things they're going to have to work on.
We talked to Nick Bolton throughout training camp. One thing he said, he wants to help this team become a top 10 defense. Obviously, in the red zone would actually help. But what step do you think defensively?
When's the last time the Chiefs have had a top 10 defense?
I don't know. Now it becomes top 10 with the time in the playoffs.
Has Spags had a top 10 defense?
I hear in Kansas City.
No, I'm talking about just over his career. Any of the teams?
Probably in New York. I mean, because you have that front line with Michael Strahan
No.
I know you're talking about, but I think if you did, it would have been in New York. But I mean, those are high, lofty expectations, and those are good goals to have because that makes you play harder.
Yeah.
Obviously, now one of the things that we probably won't see a lot of, maybe be special teams. We did talk to Dave Tope. Dave Tope said that they do plan on returning kicks, so we will see Deneric Prince out there returning kicks to Kansas City.
Interesting.
So someone asked, who are we most excited about to see now? Justin White talked about the tackles and the wide receivers more than any other position. But, is there anybody, as we go into the season, is there a particular group that you want to focus on throughout the season to see how they perform? I mean, because I know each game we pick, key players or whatever, key positions. But as we look ahead, is there a particular position group that you're interested in?
I'm really I'm not worried. I'm focused on the wide receiver group, man, because you look at no Juju Smith-Schuster, no, of course, no more Tyreek Hill talk.
No
none
McCall,
of that. No McCall, no more. Is you got a bunch of new guys and a bunch of young guys, except MVS. And I always say Travis, he's listed as a tight end, but he's really a wide receiver. He's wide receiver 1. I want to see the chemistry improve from MVS and Patrick Mahomes. I really do. And I get it. MVS is going to be what he is. He showed us his colors in Green Bay, like with Aaron Rodgers. So I feel like he is what he is. But I really believe that Sky Moore is gonna pop out this year. To me, it just seems like his confidence factor going. It was up and down last year, and then it was at its peak in the Super Bowl. I mean, he helped his team win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, he scored.
Yeah, of course. So I think he's coming out here with a lot of confidence and a lot of swag. And it's like, man, I'm in year 2. And just going back to, we had talked to McCole in Super Bowl, and McCole said, when he was on special teams, it was a lot that he had to worry about. Like, he had to worry about, all right, am I going to punt? Which punt direction? It was a lot that he had to focus
there's
on.
a lot running through your head.
Yeah, so once they pulled him from special teams, he was able to, figure it out. And that was going into year 3 because he still had to get the chemistry and Andy Reid's playbook down. Yep. And so I feel like Scott Moore, he's going to be the guy that I'm looking at in the wide receiving group.
All right. So for me, I'm like you, but honestly, I'm looking at the tackle, the new additions. As we talked about, Donovan Smith along with Jawan Taylor, because obviously there's no more Orlando Brown over the last couple of seasons, and of course Andy Wiley. So want to see how we know what the inside is going to do with Creed, Tooney, and Smith, but it's what those bookers are going to do. They played extremely well in their environments in Jacksonville and Tampa Bay, respectively. So I'm looking forward to obviously if they can keep Mahomes up, if they can open up some holes, and so. I mean, that's the most important. But at the end of the day, if Patrick gets protected, everything else is non-existent. He ain't going to get the ball to the wide receiver.
I agree, but they went to the Super Bowl with Andrew Wiley. Yeah, right tackle.
They did. And Orlando Brown.
I mean, no. But Andrew Wiley at right tackle.
Yeah, that was some issues. But look, got a lot to talk about throughout the season. Make sure you follow Steve Walls on social media at Steve Walls KC. Make sure you follow me at Darren Smith WB. We're going to end it a little bit early. We do got to get ready for the game, and I know Steve's got to get set up and stuff as well. So thanks so much for joining. We'll be back next week live in Phoenix, Arizona, site where Chiefs won the Super Bowl. We'll be back for preseason
Saturday, not Sunday, too.
Yeah, next Saturday, as a matter of fact. So this Saturday coming up in just 6 days, we'll be right back doing this once again. Darren Smith, Steve Walls, pregame cheat sheet. And then, of course, don't forget the regular season. We'll start the pregame show with the Thursday night against the Detroit Lions. And then, of course, that Monday night, we'll have the Chiefs. We'll have our postgame show, the Red Hour, live at the Silver Steak in Northside. So, for Steve Walls, Darren Smith, we're out of here. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.